it was a dream, and the enemy loves to masquerade himself. So maybe that's what he had used to convince me that this dream was of God, because not only does God speaks to us via our dreams, but also the enemy. And I'm going to prove that to you before I continue my story. So don't get lost. Who don't know my story, I used to present as a whole different identity. So my identity cards, my passport, my driver's license, everything had a different picture from who I had became after I decided to walk away from my old lifestyle. So can you imagine, for 2 years walking with an ID card that doesn't represent who you are? Not only did that take a toll on me physically, mentally, but I had to always be arguing with people to explain people. I had to be proving to people or defending that this is my card, this is my identity. This, like, my identity story is just like, wow, when will this end? Like, when will this end? So I remember when I just came to Christ, I had this dream. I had this dream that I wanted to go and change my ID card. And I knew in my spirit in the dream that that's what I was going to do. So as I got to the immigration office, there was this woman who, approached me, and she said, no, just go home. You don't.
Life is a journey, so no matter what life throws at you, always remember, still I rise, yet.
Hello guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Ricardo. For those of you joining me for the very first time, welcome, and please do consider subscribing. To my OGs, how y'all doing? It's been a long minute, but in today's video, I'm here to teach you guys about the importance of your dream and to share with y'all a very important testimony that has been in my heart to share with y'all for a long time. So, importance of our dreams, and what happened to me via my dreams, which I didn't really realize until later on. So let's get into this story. So a lot of us don't understand that, God speaks to us via our dreams, and it's not just that we ate something or we watched something bad or we ate too late while we're receiving dreams. This is actually a way in how God speaks to us. He tells us that in the last day, he will pour his spirit out on us, and his young people and old people will dream dreams and see visions. And I also want to tell you about the story, in the book of Genesis, where Pharaoh had a dream and nobody was able to interpret the dream. And Joseph, who was in prison, he sent for Joseph because Joseph was able to interpret the dream. And this was something that was to come in the land of Egypt, and Joseph was able to interpret that, but God showed it to Pharaoh, but he had no interpretation. He couldn't interpret it. He didn't understand it. So you can find that whole story in the book of Genesis, where you'll be able to see that God indeed speaks to us via our dreams and show us things that is to come, that has already been established in the realms of the spirit. So in my case, I listen, it was such a difficult time for me because I lacked the knowledge, and that's why I perished. I was a new Christian and I didn't have any sort of knowledge about my dreams, because before I became a Christian, I dreamed a lot and I didn't know what they meant. I just thought I ate some bad food, I ate too late, I watched something that I shouldn't have watched, so it's just a nightmare. But that was just God speaking to me, warning me of the things that was to come physically that has already been done, spiritually. So without getting off topic, I just wanted to share this testimony, that, when I just came to Christ, most of you who don't know my story, I used to present as a whole different identity. So my identity cards, my passport, my driver's license, everything had a different picture from who I had became after I decided to walk away from my old lifestyle. So can you imagine, for 2 years walking with an ID card that doesn't represent who you are? Not only did that take a toll on me physically, mentally, but I had to always be arguing with people to explain people. I had to be proving to people or defending that this is my card, this is my identity. This, like, my identity story is just like, wow, when will this end? Like, when will this end? So I remember when I just came to Christ, I had this dream. I had this dream that I wanted to go and change my ID card. And I knew in my spirit in the dream that that's what I was going to do. So as I got to the immigration office, there was this woman who, approached me and she said, no, just go home. You don't need to do this. Go home. And I went home, in the dream. I went home, and one thing that happened was I felt that that dream was from God because there was another person who I know physically that was standing at the door. This is a major thing. It was standing at the door, and I knew he was my enemy, basically. And I used that as a symbol to say God didn't want me to enter the building because that guy was standing at the door. But how I didn't know if it was the guy or not. It was a dream, and the enemy loves to masquerade himself. So maybe that's what he had used to convince me that this dream was of God. Because not only does God speaks to us via our dreams, but also the enemy. And I'm going to prove that to you before I continue my story. So don't get lost. So I want to share with you. It says in Matthew 13, chapter 20, no, Matthew chapter 13, verse 25 to 30. It's a whole story. You know, but while men slept, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat and went his way. And if you understand what that means and the parable of the tares and the wheat, you'll be able to see that the enemy came and sowed something in a place where, God is doing the same thing, So he came and sowed in our dreams and then he went away. So he's trying to distort the communication line between us and God for us to be confused about whether is this God or is this not God, because he knows this is a way of come in agreement with things. He knows this is a way of getting us confused, because did God want us to do, was this God? So you have to be careful. So I wanted to share that not only does God speaks to us via our dreams, but the enemy too. And that's why when you get up from a dream, you have to either cancel it, pray about it, and in most cases you'll know directly that this dream is from God, and you'll know directly that this dream is from the devil. But there are times when you get up and you're not sure who it is from, and you can't just go without not addressing it, because that's what I did. This woman told me in my dream that, hey, go home and you don't need to do this. And guess what happened when I went home in that dream, woke up physically, and did nothing about it? Because I wholeheartedly believe this is God, because I saw this guy standing at the door who represents my enemy physically. And lo and behold, this was not from God. This dream was not from God. And that manifested in my life physically. So I remember after that, when I was ready physically to go now to change the picture on my ID card, there was so many delays and blockage, and a lot of every time I would go to make an appointment, there would always be a no. There's no more rendezvous. There's no more appointment. You have to go. Remember, I just want to change the picture. I'm not asking for a passport. I'm not asking for anything new. I just want to change a picture. So it should be an easy process. And, every time I would go there for over a year, I could not get into the building and I couldn't understand it. I just used to look at it as like I was just so frustrated. And then one day I was able to get in like over a year, and then I was able to make the request to change the picture. So mind you, I made the request, I received the paper that I had made the request, and normally this should take about 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Guess what happened? That turned out to be one full year. And in that one full year, I didn't get the problem resolved. This is how detrimental it is when you come in agreement with things in the realms of the spirit, because whatsoever happened in the realms of the spirit is what will happen physically. So I agreed to go home in that dream, not realizing that I refuse, I come in agreement with for that delay to be physical in my life. So when I got that appointment, as I mentioned earlier, to go inside the place and make the appointment, got the paper, 1 year waiting, nothing. And every time I would try to go to investigate or send an email about this problem, it's in the process, it's in the process, in the process. How can it be in the process? I got frustrated at some point. I gave up on it at some point. I didn't care anymore at some point, because there's no way this should be taking so long, because I didn't understand spiritually what was going on. And I remember last year in the summer, God brought the dream I just spoke about back to my mind. And God made me realize that my problem that I'm having physically is not really a problem physically. It is a problem spiritually. And he says you're going to have to pray against this. So I remember I went into prayer this summer. I think it was July or August last summer, and I've never prayed like I prayed in this prayer before. It was a prayer that was led by the Spirit. The Spirit was having his way. I was just praying. I was not praying in general. I was praying for this situation in regards to this dream, in regards to this problem that I was having. And I stayed there praying and praying and praying and praying. I've never prayed that long. I prayed till I sweat. I've never prayed like this in my entire life. And let me tell you, when that prayer ended, I got an email directly, not the next day, not 1 hour later, not as I ended it, I got a notification of an email. And the email stated that there is an issue with your address, why we are not able to change the thing. And I'm like, how is it you take 1 year to send that information to me? That don't make any sense. What I'm saying, so it was the prayer that I had uttered in the spirit that things had to change immediately because I had the faith, and not because I was doing it. It was I was led by the Spirit in that moment to do it. So when the Spirit tells you to pray, do it. When the Spirit, let me tell you, there's power in praying. Just by me being obedient and doing that and attacking this problem, I got to respond. Okay, I got to respond that there was an issue and I need to, come back and take my fingerprints. So that was a gateway. That God made it a point where it's a gateway for me to go back into that building without any hassle, so that I can be able to handle this easy and smooth. When I got there and I make an appointment like a week later, I got in there so easily and I'm like, wow, this I've been trying to get into this place to speak to somebody, and I couldn't get in there for over a year. And just like that 1 week, I got in, and that's all God's doing. When I got in, I sat before the immigration officer, but like I was there talking and explaining my situation because I came to do something else, but God gave me the access to the building so I could resolve this problem, because me changing my address has nothing to do with my fingerprint. So I don't understand what all of that meant. So I got there, God orchestrated everything. I got there, I was talking to the guy, and then the guy wanted to call his supervisor, which was a woman, to handle the situation. And the Spirit says, pray. And I just started to pray. And that woman, she came and she was just so ignorant and she was refusing it. She was saying, no, I don't know who this is. It's not the same person, blah, blah, blah. Listen, I'm in the immigration office that issued the same ID to me. All you got to do is to take my fingerprint. You have my pictures in your system. You have everything. You know it's me. But that woman was being so, I could just feel the spirit behind her. And she was just so ignorant. She was so upset. She was just so angry. I've never seen anything like it before, and God says to pray. And when I prayed, the guy just said, you know what, I'll take care of it. And I'm like, but behind it, you can see that it's a masculine behind it. It's not feminine. So it's me and it's my name. And I have my driver's license. The pictures has already been changed. It's me. All you got to do is take my fingerprint. It's me. I have all the documents, all everything as birth certificate. So it shouldn't take this big fuss. But she wanted to be like that. But I prayed. And within 2 weeks later, I was able to recover my identity card. The moral of the story is the realms of the spirit is real. And when we dream, we're operating over that side of the spectrum. When we do things in this realms of the spirit, when whatever we do over there, it will manifest in the physical. A lot of people might not understand this, but it is really what it is. So you have to pay attention to your dreams. You have to be attention to your dreams, and you have to take your dreams back to God. You got to pray about them. You got to make notes of them. You got to keep them, because you'll be able to look back and see that, oh, maybe this is linked to this, maybe this is linked to that, but let me tell you, man, don't just ignore your dreams. Don't just take them as, oh, it's just nothing, it's just a dream. No, it's not just a dream. God speaks to us via our dreams and also the enemy. So I want you to be very careful when you receive your dreams. You either cancel them when they're not from God, but don't just, or agree with them when they're from God, but don't just do nothing. Don't just get up from the dream and do nothing, because that's exactly what the enemy wanted you to do. And that was my lack of knowledge that caused me to perish for over 2 years, struggling, trying to get this thing fixed. And it shouldn't take you 2 years just to change a picture on an ID card, but because, it's me, because it's because of, God. They don't want, the enemy was just mad, so he was just angry with me because I walked away from, his side of the lies, and I came to the truth and accepted the truth, and he wasn't having it. So he wanted me to be reminded of my past and tormented by my past because I was still carrying around this ID doing my daily life, even though that was not my reality anymore. So it took a toll on me, and I'm so grateful that, God has, sorted this whole issue out for me. And I was able to learn something from that to help me grow spiritually and to help others who might not believe that dreams are real, and how important it is to pay attention to our dreams. Amen. So the scriptures, as I mentioned before, you can go to read the story in Matthew 13, 25 to 30, of the enemy. When we sleep, he comes to sow, his weeds and his tares amongst, us when we're sleeping. And also, that God himself, speaks to us according to Job 33, verse 14 to 17. He speaks in our dreams, in the visions of the night when deep sleep falls on people as they lay in their beds. He whispers to their ears and, terrifies them with warning. He makes them turn from doing wrong. He keeps them from pride. So that's God telling us in that dream. That's Job telling us in that dream that God really speaks to us. All right. So I love y'all so much. Thank you so much for watching this video. If this has blessed you, do not forget to share it with somebody, and do not forget to leave your feedback. When was the last time you dreamed? What was the last thing you remember from your dream? What did you do when you woke up from that dream? So these are the questions I want to ask you. And I want you to pay attention to your dream from this day going forward, because the Lord do speaks to us by our dreams, and the enemy also do try to speak to us via our dreams. So we need discernment, and we need that, the guidance of God, and we need the leadership of the Holy Spirit. All right. So I love y'all again. God bless y'all. Until then, see y'all same place in the next video. God bless.